that if you talk to yourself when you're alone, let me tell you something important today. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. In fact, it may mean something very powerful is happening inside you. While the world may rush to label silence as strange and self-talk as odd, the truth is far deeper, far richer, and far more meaningful. Because when you talk to yourself, you are not being lonely. You are being connected. You are not processed, confusing. You are not weak. You are listening. The first unique trait you probably have is deep self-awareness. You don't run from your thoughts. You don't silence your emotions. You sit with them. You question them. You explore them. Most people are afraid of their inner voice, so they distract themselves with noise. But you lean in, you ask yourself the hard questions, you reflect, and self-awareness is where all real growth begins. The second trait is emotional intelligence. When you talk to yourself, you are naming your feelings instead of burying them. You're saying, why do I feel this way, instead of pretending you don't. That ability to understand and regulate your emotions gives you power. It helps you respond instead of react. And that's why people like you often remain calm when others fall apart. The third unique trait is strong decision-making ability. You think things through, you weigh options, you play scenarios in your mind. Talking to yourself is how clarity is born. While others rush into choices, you pause, reflect, and choose with intention. That inner dialogue becomes your compass when the world feels uncertain. The fourth trait is resilience. Talking to yourself is often how you survive. It's how you encourage yourself when no one else does. It's how you remind yourself of your worth when doubt creeps in. You become your own supporter, your own coach, your own reminder that this moment will pass. And that kind of strength cannot be taught. It is earned. People who talk to themselves are also highly creative. Your mind doesn't shut down when you're alone. It opens up, ideas flow, solutions appear. You imagine, you visualize, you rehearse greatness long before the world sees it. Many breakthroughs are born in quiet conversations with the self. Another powerful trait is focus. Self-talk helps you organize your thoughts, reset your energy, and stay aligned with your goals. It sharpens your attention and brings you back to what truly matters when distractions try to pull you away. And finally, you possess inner leadership. You don't always need external validation because you have an internal guide. You trust yourself. You learn from yourself. You lead yourself. And that is the foundation of confidence that no applause can give and no criticism can take away. So the next time you catch yourself talking to yourself, don't feel embarrassed. Feel empowered, because people who know how to talk to themselves know how to listen to their truth. And when you listen to your truth long enough, you begin to live it. And that is where transformation begins. When you talk to yourself, it often reveals a deep level of self-awareness that many people never develop in their lifetime. Self-awareness means you are conscious of your thoughts, emotions, reactions, and patterns. You notice what is happening inside you instead of running away from it. While most people stay busy to avoid hearing their inner voice, you allow yourself to listen. You question why you feel the way you do. You reflect on your actions. You recognize your strengths and you admit your weaknesses without shame. This ability to observe yourself honestly is a powerful skill because growth always begins with awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to see, and you cannot heal what you refused to feel. Talking to yourself creates a safe space where you can be truthful without fear of judgment. It allows you to process experiences instead of suppressing them. That inner dialogue becomes a mirror showing you who you are and who you are becoming. Self-awareness also helps you understand your triggers. When something upsets you, you do not immediately blame the world. You ask yourself what touched a nerve and why it mattered so much. This question leads to emotional maturity. You stop repeating the same mistakes because you are aware of the patterns that create them. You learn from your past instead of being controlled by it. Talking to yourself is how you slow down and make sense of your inner world. It helps you separate facts from emotions and reality from fear. In moments of confusion, your inner voice becomes a guide bringing clarity and direction. People with strong self-awareness tend to have better relationships because they understand themselves first. When you know your emotions, you communicate more clearly. You express your needs instead of expecting others to guess them. You take responsibility for your feelings instead of projecting them onto others. This creates healthier connections built on understanding rather than blame. Self-awareness also brings humility. You do not pretend to be perfect. You accept that you are a work in progress, and that acceptance gives you peace. Talking to yourself also strengthens your values. It helps you define what matters to you and what does not. In a world full of noise, opinions, and pressure, your inner voice reminds you of your truth. You make decisions that align with your values rather than chasing approval. This alignment creates confidence. Not loud confidence, but quiet, steady confidence rooted in self-trust. When you know yourself, you do not need to explain yourself to everyone. You move with purpose because you understand your why. Another powerful aspect of self-awareness is emotional regulation. When you recognize your emotions early, you can manage them better. Instead of exploding or shutting down, you pause and talk yourself through the moment. You remind yourself that emotions are temporary and that you have the strength to respond wisely. This skill protects your peace and preserves your energy. It allows you to remain grounded even in challenging situations. Self-awareness also opens the door to personal growth. When you talk to yourself, you identify areas where you want to improve. You set intentions, you encourage yourself. You hold yourself accountable with compassion instead of criticism. You become both the student and the teacher in your own life. This inner relationship shapes your future more than any external influence. In the end, talking to yourself is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of inner connection. It shows that you are present with yourself, willing to listen, willing to learn, and willing to grow. And that deep self-awareness is one of the greatest strengths a person can possess. Talking to yourself is one of the strongest signs of emotional intelligence because it shows that you are aware of what you feel and brave enough to face it. Emotional intelligence begins with recognizing emotions instead of denying them. When you speak to yourself in moments of stress, sadness, excitement, or fear, you are giving your emotions a voice. You are not pushing them away. You are allowing them to exist, and that is where control begins. People with emotional intelligence do not pretend they are fine when they are not. They acknowledge their inner state and then choose how to move forward with wisdom. When you talk to yourself, you learn to name your emotions clearly. You do not just feel bad or good. You understand whether you are disappointed, frustrated, anxious, hopeful, or proud. This clarity gives you power because emotions that are understood are easier to manage. Instead of being overwhelmed, you slow down and guide yourself through the feeling. You might remind yourself to breathe, to stay calm, or to be patient. That inner guidance helps you respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Self-talk also helps you develop empathy. When you understand your own emotions deeply, you naturally begin to understand others better. You realize that people act from their feelings just as you do. This awareness softens your judgment. You listen more. You become less defensive and more compassionate. Emotional intelligence is not about being emotionless. It is about being emotionally aware and balanced. Talking to yourself trains you to pause before reacting, which strengthens your relationships and communication. Another powerful aspect of emotional intelligence is self-regulation. Life does not always go as planned. Challenges, disappointments, and criticism are unavoidable. When these moments arise, your inner voice becomes your anchor. You calm yourself. You remind yourself that one moment does not define your worth. You talk yourself out of anger before it causes damage. This ability to regulate emotions protects your peace and keeps you grounded even when circumstances are difficult. Talking to yourself also builds emotional resilience. You become your own source of reassurance. When things go wrong, you do not collapse waiting for comfort from the outside. You encourage yourself. You remind yourself of past strength and survival. This inner support system makes you stronger and more independent. Emotional intelligence grows when you learn to comfort yourself without shutting down or becoming bitter. People who practice healthy self-talk also learn how to motivate themselves emotionally. Instead of harsh criticism, they use encouragement. They acknowledge mistakes without self-destruction. They say, I can learn from this. I can do better next time. This kind of emotional leadership creates growth rather than fear. You become someone who can face failure without losing confidence. Emotional intelligence also shows in how you handle silence and solitude. When you are alone and talk to yourself, you are not escaping your thoughts. You are organizing them. You process experiences, reflect on lessons, and release emotional weight. This practice prevents emotional buildup that often leads to burnout or emotional outbursts. You clear your mind regularly, and that keeps your emotional health strong. Another important element is self-respect. When you listen to your emotions, you honor them. You do not ignore your needs. You set boundaries. You recognize when something no longer serves your emotional well-being. This awareness helps you protect your energy and choose environments that support your growth. In the end, talking to yourself is a quiet form of emotional mastery. It means you are willing to listen to your inner world instead of running from it. It shows maturity, strength, and balance. Emotional intelligence is not loud or dramatic. It is calm, aware, and intentional. And it often begins with a simple, honest conversation with yourself when no one else is around. Talking to yourself often reveals a strong decision-making ability because it shows that you take time to think before you act. Good decisions are rarely made in noise or haste. They are made in moments of reflection where thoughts are examined and options are weighed carefully. When you talk to yourself, you slow life down. You give your mind space to process information instead of reacting emotionally. This habit allows you to choose with intention rather than impulse. You do not rush into choices to escape discomfort. You pause and ask yourself what truly matters. Self-talk helps you analyze situations from different angles. You question possible outcomes and consider consequences before taking action. You might ask yourself what will happen if you choose this path, or how you will feel a year from now if you decide differently. This inner conversation sharpens your judgment. It turns confusion into clarity. While others depend heavily on external opinions, you learn to consult your inner wisdom first. That does not mean you ignore advice. It means you filter advice through your own understanding and values. People with strong decision-making skills are not afraid of responsibility. When you talk to yourself, you accept that your choices shape your life. You do not blame circumstances or people for every outcome. You recognize your role in what happens next. This awareness makes you more careful and more courageous. You choose deliberately because you know you will live with the results. This level of ownership builds maturity and self-trust. Self-talk also helps you manage doubt. Every important decision brings uncertainty. Instead of allowing fear to control you, you speak logic into the moment. You remind yourself of facts, experiences, and lessons learned. You calm the emotional storm and bring balance between heart and mind. This prevents regret-driven decisions and emotional reactions that often lead to mistakes. You learn to separate temporary feelings from long-term consequences. Another powerful benefit of talking to yourself is problem solving. When challenges arise, you do not freeze or panic. You think out loud. You break the problem into smaller parts. You explore solutions step by step. This process strengthens your critical thinking. You train your mind to focus solutions rather than obstacles. Over time, this habit builds confidence because you trust your ability to figure things out even when the answer is not immediately clear. Strong decision makers also learn from reflection. When you talk to yourself after making a choice, you review what worked and what did not. You do not dwell in regret. You extract lessons. This reflection improves future decisions. Each experience becomes a teacher instead of a burden. You evolve because you are willing to learn from your own life. Self-talk also aligns decisions with values. When you know what you stand for, your choices become clearer. You ask yourself whether a decision aligns with your principles or compromises them. This inner check keeps you grounded. You avoid choices that bring short-term gain but long-term regret. Living in alignment creates peace because your actions match your inner truth. Talking to yourself also strengthens patience. You realize that not every decision needs an immediate answer. Some choices require time and thought. You give yourself permission to wait and reflect. This patience protects you from unnecessary mistakes and rush commitments. You understand that clarity often comes with stillness. In leadership and life, strong decision making creates trust. When you trust yourself, others sense it. Your choices become steady and consistent. You are not easily swayed by pressure or trends. You move with confidence because your decisions come from clarity, not chaos. In the end, talking to yourself is a sign of inner discipline and wisdom. It shows that you respect the power of choice. You understand that decisions shape direction and direction shapes destiny. That quiet inner dialogue becomes the foundation of smart, thoughtful, and courageous decisions that move your life forward. Talking to yourself is often a sign of deep resilience because it's one of the quietly and rebuild yourself from quietly and heal the ways the inside. Resilience is not always loud or visible. Sometimes it looks like a person sitting alone having an honest conversation with their own heart. When life hurts and disappoints, when plans fall apart and expectations break, you do not always have someone to lean on. In those moments, your inner voice becomes your strength. You remind yourself that you have survived before and that you will survive again. That self-reassurance is not weakness. Courage is not courage in its purest form. Resilience grows when you refuse to give up on yourself. Talking to yourself helps you process pain instead of avoiding it. You allow yourself to feel sadness, anger, or disappointment without letting those emotions destroy you. You say to yourself, "This hurts, but it will not defeat me." You acknowledge the wound, and that acknowledgement begins healing. People who talk to themselves often do so to make sense of their experiences. They reflect on what happened, what it taught them, and how they can move forward stronger. This reflection turns pain into wisdom. When you face hardship, self-talk becomes a source of emotional first aid. You calm your racing thoughts. You remind yourself to breathe. You bring yourself back to the present moment. This grounding prevents emotional overwhelm. Instead of falling apart, you hold yourself together one thought at a time. That ability to self-soothe is a key part of resilience. It allows you to stay functional even when things are heavy. Talking to yourself also helps you reframe challenges. Instead of seeing setbacks as failures, you begin to see them as lessons. You ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? This shift in perspective changes everything. Resilient people do not deny pain, but they refuse to be defined by it. They use self-talk to rewrite the story from I am broken to I am becoming stronger. That mindset fuels growth. Another powerful aspect of resilience is self-encouragement. When no one else believes in you still speak belief into your own life. You remind yourself of your abilities, your past victories, and your inner strength. You tell yourself to keep going even when the road feels long. This inner encouragement keeps you moving forward when external motivation fades. It becomes the voice that pushes you to stand up one more time. Talking to yourself also helps you release emotional weight. When feelings stay trapped inside, they grow heavier. By expressing them through self-talk, you create emotional release. You give yourself permission to let go of what you cannot change. You accept what is and focus on what you can control. This acceptance is a cornerstone of resilience. It brings peace even in difficult circumstances. Resilience also means setting boundaries to protect your emotional well-being. Through self-reflection, you recognize when something or someone is draining you. You listen to that inner warning. You choose distance, rest, or change when needed. Talking to yourself helps you honor your limits instead of ignoring them. This self-respect preserves your strength for what truly matters. Over time, this habit builds inner trust. You learn that you can rely on yourself in hard times. You become your own safe place. This trust reduces fear of future challenges because you know you have the tools to handle them. Resilience is strengthened each time you survive something difficult and talk yourself through the aftermath. In the end, talking to yourself is an act of self-loyalty. It means you stay with yourself even when life is painful. You do not abandon your own heart. You listen, you comfort, and you guide yourself forward. That quiet resilience, shaped in moments of solitude, becomes the foundation of unbreakable strength. In the end, talking to yourself is not a strange habit. It is a powerful sign of awareness, its intelligence, clarity, and strength. It means you listen to your voice, trust your inner guidance, and stand by yourself in every season of life. When you can talk to yourself with honesty and compassion, you unlock growth, resilience, and purpose. And that quiet conversation within you may be the strongest voice you will ever need.